started recording this video about 7 or 8 months ago, like back in March. It's now what, November 2020, and I'm pretty sure I posted it on YouTube, but I've checked and it's not there, so I think I must have posted it and then deleted it somehow. So I thought I'd post it again and add to it because it's all about like lockdown, and some countries are coming out of lockdown now. Like I'm in Dubai and we're not in lockdown anymore. Some countries are going back into lockdown, like the UK, and it can be a really, really hard time with an eating disorder. I haven't vlogged at all since I, well, posted and deleted that video in March because we've had a bit of a difficult year. Well, everybody has, but just in case you're new to the channel or haven't seen on Instagram, you'll notice that I'm pregnant at the beginning of this video, and our baby would be 8 months old in a couple of weeks, but he died at the end of March, so I just haven't been able to do a video, but I do miss it, so I thought I'd try again now. I'm just lying on the sofa with the little puppy. I just wanted to do a quick video about this crazy experience at the moment with coronavirus, and especially when you're in recovery from an eating disorder, because it's a really difficult time. We're kind of self-isolating really, like staying home and not seeing too many people, which is quite boring. I'm just really conscious of like looking after my mental health during this time, and Brendan's, like to make sure that we're not getting depressed or anxious, and that for me, I'm not going back to eating disorder behaviours. So if you're stuck at home, like quarantined or self-isolating, when you come to make food, you might be getting those thoughts like, right, you're at home, you have to have less calories or you're gonna gain weight. And it might just be those like small restrictions that you don't even feel like count, like, oh, just spread a bit less, don't put banana on your peanut butter, I'm gonna have honey as well, don't have honey, this is full fat, like, no, you have to have a low fat option, like, is that on my arm? But even if your head's telling you something, it's just block the thoughts, shut up head. I don't do that shit anymore. I'm not going back to restriction, because what's gonna happen when you come out of quarantine and then you've got fears of all these foods again? And your head will say like, oh no, we'll just do it now whilst you're trapped at home. But come on, that's bullshit. Like eating disorders are slippery slopes. Like you start with one restriction and then it turns into another restriction and another. And also you don't need to, like, so what? You're trapped at home. Or maybe you're a bit anxious with what's going on, but like, don't use food to cope. Like that's the shit you've been doing in your eating disorder and what you're trying to move away from. Oh, hello puppy. Darling. So even though it's a weird time, still like opposite actions break the cycle. Too many banana. Got Stevie here and Bertie. No puppet. And maybe there'll be like thoughts of comparing to others as well, like what other people in your house eating. So like breakfast, Brendan is still in bed at the moment. He may not have breakfast, I don't know, but it doesn't matter. I don't need to miss my breakfast because he's not eating it. Like my body doesn't manage its weight based on his food intake. So last night I tried to draw up like a list of what's helped me in the last couple of weeks. Bren's just going for a run. What do you think has helped you to stay sane during self-isolation?
The dog.
The dog? Therapy dog.
Right, later.
Okay, enjoy. It's actually just stopped raining here, so we took the dog for a walk quickly together. Good boy. And he got so filthy and wet, so I came home and like washed him down and then dried him. I don't want this weird period of being trapped indoors to be my reason for a relapse. So people in your house might be exercising, eating less, restricting, even dieting because they think, oh my God, I'm trapped at home, I need to go on a diet, which is mental, by the way. Different bodies, different paths. That shit is not for us. I honestly think one of the biggest things that's helped me in the last couple of weeks is not being starved. Literally for me, starved could be like BMI 20 because my body needs to be higher than that. So when I was starved, every time I finished eating, I was almost like devastated that that meal was over, and then I would just be counting down the time until I could next have a snack. Really, that's all I wanted to do in my day was just eat, which is not surprising. Like, that's biology. My body was under the weight it wanted to be, so of course it just wanted to go and eat. Oh, it also made a like mental health checklist and put it on the fridge for me and Brendan. Oh, Brendan's right, you are helping us. Ow, not like that though. Betty, what are you doing? And obviously not restricting, like whether it's because you're stressed and anxious and it's like a coping mechanism, or whether it's because your routine's changed, you're not able to go, Betty, down my top. You're not able to go to the gym, or you feel like you're trapped inside, so you need to make up for it by missing food. Like, no. Come here. What are you doing? What are you doing? I think just remembering that it will pass as well. However weird and horrible it is now, like, this isn't going to be forever. But if you go back to your eating disorder, like, that does last forever. Hello.
Yeah.
Who's home? Is your dad home?
Okay, so.
Okay, go and see him. Sat here with Bertie. He's eating my list. Look, chew your toy. I'm 33 weeks pregnant now, and I thought I would just wear my same leggings throughout my whole pregnancy. I was like, oh, they're stretchy, I'm gonna be fine. But they were getting so uncomfortable on me. So I was like, fuck it, I'm just gonna go and buy a bigger pair. And it is the best thing ever wearing clothes that actually fit. I'm so much more comfortable. Like, it's really liberating to actually like be able to move and feel okay in my clothes. So yeah, pregnant or not, I'd say wearing comfy clothes at the moment as well. Another thing is it's also like quite a good opportunity to actually let go of control. Eating disorders are so much about control. Like, as long as I weigh this in the morning, I'll feel okay. As long as I've eaten this in the day, I feel okay. As long as I've been to this gym class, I'll feel okay. But that's really shit because it's tying all of your sense of feeling okay to external factors. It's a really fragile existence if my whole mental health is dependent on have I worked out, have I eaten this, have I weighed this. I think this is a really good opportunity to actually like be forced out of your control and think like, oh, where are you going? I love it so much. What?
Sorry.
What?
How's the hungies?
Do you want lunch? Yeah, should we have lunch?
I'll make it.
Okay, I'll come down in a sec. Well, we have tuna mayo sandwiches. Oh, can you put some sweet corn in my tuna? Thank you. I'm gonna go and get some lunch with Bren. So 2 cans of tuna between us, real mayonnaise. Being stuck at home is not a reason to restrict. I like using the saying, once it's in. Like, I wasn't just challenging real mayo to just be able to eat it when I'm able to go out the house, or to just have it as a one-off. Like, no, it's a normal food, it's a regular part of my diet now. And even like small restriction thoughts like, oh, you've already had bread today, you're only allowed that once in a day. Like, no, my body doesn't have rules about how many times a day it's allowed bread. Got, I can't remember what it was, fudge and white chocolate chip cookie or something. I literally have to have something sweet after my lunch. Well, actually after every meal. Again, just because I'm trapped in the house doesn't mean I can't still eat dessert. I've also been starting to write out some like birth affirmations, things that are hopefully going to keep me like calm when I go into labour. I'm like coming up to 34 weeks pregnant now, so it's actually getting close. This is my hypnobirthing manual. So I'm just choosing some of my favourite affirmations from here. Ta-da! I've done 3 now.
Honestly, the only thing that decides if we have cheese in our burgers now is whether or not we have it in.
Yummy.
So I filmed these little bits recently. I think I wanted to show like how important I think it is to keep all of these foods in your diet, whether you're in lockdown or like whatever's going on in your life. Like, so for me, still having cheeseburgers, having takeaways, ordering straight from a menu when you can go out. These are things that I've challenged in my recovery, and now they've got to be in my diet for life. I think I've ordered extra chips by accident. This one's yours. I say to myself, like, once it's in, it's in. Like, these are permanent parts of my diet. They're not one-off challenges, never to be repeated again, or things that you can only have if you're able to leave the house or if you've compensated in the day to allow for it. Like, the point of recovery and challenging these foods is to make them a permanent part of your diet. So once lockdown was like easing off in Dubai and it was safe to go out again, I made sure to go out and have these things I wasn't able to have, like cheeseburger and chips, to make sure my fears didn't creep back in. And to be honest, I've made that sound like I had to force myself to go out and have these things. Like, I didn't at all. I wanted to order cheeseburger. I love them. And I think main part of the reason it wasn't difficult again is that I hadn't been restricting them during lockdown. Like, I'd still made sure I had everything I was having before. Like, nothing changed. Recovery isn't just a when you can leave the house thing, like it's an always thing. And especially in lockdown when like you might be stressed, anxious, lonely, bored, like going to an eating disorder can be a coping mechanism, and that's when you have to be like, no, that shit is off the table. Like, I say, no Meg, you don't do that shit anymore. And then when lockdown lifts, like, which it will, it passes, you know, like everything in life, and once it does, you don't want to have gone back to old fears and habits because they won't pass. Like, you're going to be stuck with that shit once lockdown's lifted. So don't go to it now for like a little bit of comfort, because that's such a short-term fix. Like, in the long term, what is that going to do for your life?
I knew it wasn't finished.
Like, cheese was a massive fear for me in my recovery, and I honestly overcame it by facing it again and again and again, and it felt so shit, but I just did it anyway. And then with time it got easier, and I had to keep having it in lots of forms as well, like cheese on a cheeseburger, cheese in pizza, cheese in a cheese toasty, oops, or like sprinkled on top of spaghetti bolognese. And then obviously not restrict around it as well, because like if you're doing anything like restricting or exercising or anything to compensate for the things that you're eating, like you're completely negating what you're doing, and you're still attaching conditions to food, like, oh, I'm allowed to eat this cheese, whatever, as long as I XYZ. So you're not allowed to eat it at all. Like, you've still got conditions attached. It's not your fault what's happened this year, and like some of the things which you've been challenging in your recovery you might not have been able to do, and that's been completely out of your hands. Like going out to restaurants, for example, like if during lockdown you wouldn't have been able to do that. It's not your fault, but I think it is your responsibility. Once you can do them again, you have to make sure you go and do them straight away. So eating out for like breakfast and lunch was a massive thing that I challenged in my recovery, and something I love to be able to do now. So as soon as we could do it again safely, like I went back out. I actually didn't have to force myself at all because I love it, but I did make sure that I was like ordering straight from the menu, not substituting anything, not ordering a salad. Yeah, I'll get that. Just because like I haven't been able to go out for months, so I wanted to make sure I could still do it. Not compensating before or after, and like ordering my own thing regardless of what anyone around me was having. This is amazing lunch. It's not fucking banging. I have to mute that out. Recovery is all about actions, and some of the actions will have been out of your hands during lockdown, but as soon as they're back in your hands, you got to do them again. And then other actions are still in your hands, so like making sure that you're not restricting each day, you're like spreading stuff properly on your toast. Or not choosing the lower calorie options. This is so hard to do with one hand. Still putting peanut butter on things. Not leaving little things out, or like having your own adaptations of meals, or cooking things in weird ways. Thank you. And a shit ton of gravy. Lush, thank you so much. Betty!
Jammers.
Which one's mine?
Fella.
Thank you. Even if you get niggles in your head to do these things for whatever reason, like, no, you shut them down, block that shit out, like eject your eating disorder DVD with opposite actions. I think one thing that people can find difficult in lockdown is that if you live with other people, then you can be like in quite close quarters and seeing what other people are doing. And if they have weird attitudes towards like food or working out, which seem to be blown way out of proportion when we're in lockdown, that can be quite hard to see and quite triggering for your own thoughts, like, well, maybe I should be doing that then. But absolutely not. It doesn't matter what anybody else is doing, like they have a different body to yours and they're on a completely different path to you. If you're recovering from an eating disorder, then you are recovering from an eating disorder. It doesn't matter if it's lockdown or not. It doesn't matter what somebody else is doing or not. With your brain wiring and your history and your genetics, like that shit is just not for you. So it doesn't matter what somebody else is doing. Like your body doesn't have a clue what that other person is doing, and it's not going to manage its own weight based on what that other person is doing. And in order for you to rewire your brain and get rid of your eating disorder thoughts, like you cannot engage in those behaviours regardless of what anybody else is doing. Like for me, I think the most important thing this year has just been get through it healthily. Like don't go back to your eating disorder. And for whatever reason, whether it's like intentional to make you feel a bit better or completely accidental, like you can't go out to eat in restaurants, I don't know, I think you just have to reject any eating disorder niggle, opposite actions when you get a thought. Like it's okay to get a thought, but don't act on it. I guess just stay focused on the bigger picture, like what life do you ultimately want to live? Lockdown is not going to be forever, it's going to pass, but your eating disorder won't. And I don't think I have anything else to say. Okay, I actually do have one more thing to say. I just tried to go to yoga and failed massively. I've really struggled to go back in the last 8 months because I used to go when I was pregnant, and just being in the room I find really difficult. And I wanted to share it because I spoke in the beginning of the video about not having done exercise, and I think people will be like, oh well, it's okay for her, she's pregnant, that's why she's not doing it. I've not been pregnant for the past 8 months and I'm still not doing it. And the reason it's okay for me is because I'm on my own path, and this is what my path involves at the moment. My path is recovery from restrictive eating disorder, overcoming things which are happening at the moment. You're on your own path too, and it's going to look different to my path, or the people you might live with, or your friends, or people on Instagram, whatever. Like Brendan went for a run this morning whilst I was eating my breakfast. Doesn't mean I need to go, doesn't mean I'm not allowed to eat. Like we are on different paths. And it can be difficult watching other people do stuff, and you might get thoughts in your head, it might be triggering, but that doesn't mean you need to do it. Like just because you get the thought doesn't mean you need to act on it. Like I am still allowed to not go running if Brendan goes running, have a snack in the morning whilst he's eating breakfast, even though I've already eaten my breakfast, snack between meals, which I always do and he doesn't tend to do. I genuinely could not go between meals without having something to eat. Like I'm either hungry or I just want food. Like I don't have to be hungry to eat. Like it's just my routine, it's just what I like to do, and I don't need somebody else to be doing it for me to be allowed to do it. Look at this guy, he's gonna be like, what the fuck. Anyway, I'm just at the supermarket now. I'm actually picking stuff up for a barbecue. We're going camping in the desert tonight for a friend's birthday. Oh my god. Yeah, we're going camping in the desert tonight for a friend's birthday, and I'm so excited. Look at the dog. I haven't written a list, but I'm just going to grab like some burgers, buns, salady bits, I don't know, crisps, that's quite a good idea, halloumi, cheese for the cheeseburgers. I don't know when I'll record again. I don't think I can really commit to weekly videos at the moment, but whenever it will be, lots of love until then.